This is a metal workshop, and here they make lots of different types of gates. A gate starts out like this, as long pieces of metal called steel. This is Adrian, and he's a blacksmith, which means he makes things using metal. And first, Adrian picks the pieces of steel he's going to use, and then the pieces need to be cut so they're the right size.
Workshops and tools can be very dangerous, so you should never go near them without a grown-up. To cut the steel, Adrian is using a big machine called a bandsaw.
And can you see the really sharp teeth here? It's these teeth that will cut through the metal. But what do you think the bandsaw looks like? I think it looks like the wide open mouth of a crocodile. As the blade cuts through the steel, it gets quite hot.
This is because of something called friction, which happens when two surfaces are rubbed together.
It's a bit like rubbing your hands together. Give it a go. Can you feel them getting warmer?
When the blade cuts against the metal, the friction makes the blade hot.
So there's some water being poured over the blade to cool it down.
For our gate, Adrian cuts 4 metal bars for the frame and 7 rods for the middle. Next, he needs to put holes into the steel, ready for the hinges. For this, he's using a punching machine.
Did you hear that loud clunking sound? It's like a giant paper hole punch, only this one is much more powerful. Our gate is going to have a curved top, but steel is strong. So we're going to need a very strong tool to bend it with. It's called a ring roller. And now he's turning a screw, and that puts pressure on the metal. And next, he's turning a lever, and that moves the straight piece of metal backwards and forwards. And slowly, the metal starts to bend. Looks like a big smile, doesn't it? Our gate now has a curved top and some holes for the bolts. It's really starting to look like a gate, isn't it? But here comes the exciting bit, fixing everything together.
And to stick all the bits of steel together, Adrian is going to use this welding machine.
And it works by heating up small pieces of wire till they're so hot that they melt and act a little bit like glue. Welding creates lots of bright sparks, so we have to wear a welding coat to protect our clothes and a mask to protect our eyes. Wow, did you see all of the sparks? They looked like little fireworks, didn't they? But those sparks are really, really hot. But to show you just how hot the steel gets, I've got my special camera here. And this is a thermal camera. Now, cold things appear blue, but warm and hot things look yellow or red. But very, very hot things, they look white. So what colour do you think the sparks are going to be? Let's find out. Whoa! Look at that!
Where Adrian has been welding, the gate is red and bright white, but everything else is blue. That's because where the steel has been heated, it's much, much hotter. Adrian is creating a swirly pattern for a gate using a set of scrolling tools. These can bend steel into different shapes.
I think it looks a bit like a snail.
All that's left to do is weld the swirls into position and fix on the bolts.
Ta-da! And here we have our finished gate. All that's left to do is hang this on some hinges and it'll be ready to get used in someone's garden. This is an umbrella workshop, and they've been making umbrellas here for over 100 years. You can get lots of different types of umbrellas. There are patterned umbrellas, frilly umbrellas, see-through umbrellas, and even yellow umbrellas, like this one.
But how do umbrellas keep you dry?
Let's use this watering can to see what happens when the water hits the umbrella. You ready? Okay. Wow! Did you see the water droplets running off the umbrella? It all happened really quickly, didn't it? So I've got my special slow motion camera with me so we can see it happening in more detail. Slow motion means that we can film something that's happening really fast, but when we watch it back, it appears much slower. Ready to record. Let's see what happens.
Let's pour the water on. Oh, look at that! The material has a waterproof coating, so instead of the water soaking through, it runs off. It's a bit like the water droplets are dancing.
It's really clever, isn't it? But how do all the parts of the umbrella come together? Let's find out. This bit here is the part that you hold, and it's called the handle. And then this long wooden stick is called the shaft. And then can you see these long spindly bits? Those are called the ribs. I think they look a little bit like spiders' legs. When you open the umbrella, the ribs stretch out, and that's what gives the umbrella its shape. This is Lee, and it's Lee's job to put all the parts of the umbrella together.
First, Lee cuts some holes into the shaft using a cutting machine. Then cuts and twists 2 pieces of metal wire into the same shape.
They look a bit like little hooks, don't they? But they're not hooks. They're the springs, and they help the umbrella to open and close.
The springs are then fitted into the holes that Lee made.
This part is called the runner, and it will move up the umbrella to open it and down the umbrella to close it. But listen to this. Can you hear that clicking sound? That means the runner has fixed onto the spring. But I think it sounds a little bit like a light being switched on and off.
Next, Lee fixes the ribs onto the runner using some bendy wire.
Look, the ribs are all loose. That's no good, is it? That's because Lee's not quite finished.
Now he's attaching the ribs to another ring, and that's called the notch.
Now the ribs are attached to the runner and the notch. So let's see what happens when we open it this time. There we go. That's better, isn't it? But this umbrella isn't going to keep us dry, so what do you think it needs? It needs a canopy.
The canopy sits on top of the umbrella, but what colour should we choose?
How about blue? Yellow? I think we should make a bright red umbrella.
The red material is cut into shapes using a sharp knife.
Do you know what shape this is? It has 1, 2, 3 sides. That's right, it's a triangle.
Our canopy needs 8 of these, fixed together on a sewing machine.
The 8 triangle pieces have been sewn together to make the canopy.
But it's not finished yet. It needs some tiny tips.
Now Jan's sewing the canopy to the frame. Oh, we are so nearly there. Look, the tips are being attached to the ribs.
Last of all, Lee fits a shiny cap onto the umbrella shaft.
Brilliant. A finished umbrella, ready for me to use on a rainy day. To make a plant pot, we have to start in a place like this. It's called a quarry.
A quarry is a place where materials like rock, sand and clay are dug out of the ground by big diggers.
And this digger is digging for clay, and it's what we use to make plant pots. The soft clay is being loaded into the back of a big truck called a dumper.
It'll be mixed with another harder type of clay called shale.
It looks like big rocks, but actually just crumbles away.
The shale and clay mix is taken by a digger to the plant pot factory, where it's ground down into a fine powder in this crushing machine.
The crushed up clay then travels along conveyor belts. Up here, over there, down here, and it ends up here. When the clay powder is ready to be used, it travels to this machine. It's called an extruder.
This mixes the powder with water to create a solid clay.
Look, can you see how the mixture is being pushed out of the pipe and then a wire comes down and plop, it falls onto the conveyor belt. And this is called a slug. Look at all these slugs. It's a funny name, isn't it? And each slug is enough to make one plant pot.
The slugs travel onto a robotic machine called a pot press. Here they're sprayed with an oil to stop them from sticking as they slide down into a plant pot mould.
The moulds are spinning round really fast to make sure that the clay is spread evenly. The top part of the machine then presses down on the clay, which makes it squidge up around the sides to make the shape of a plant pot. Look, can you see it? There it is. Lastly, a robotic arm gently picks up the plant pot, puts it on a conveyor belt. And here it comes. But these ones are still slippy and wet. You can't put plants in a pot like this. So first, they have to be dried.
The pots and some pipes, which are also made from clay, are put into a special dryer for 13 hours. Then, to make them even harder and even stronger, the pots need to get very, very hot in something called a kiln.
Wow, this is the kiln and it's extremely hot.
The tunnel inside gets heated to over 1,000 degrees, so I'm making sure I stand well back.
To show you just how hot it is inside, I've got my special camera with me. This is a thermal imaging camera and it shows us how hot or cold things are by showing different colours. Cool things tend to look blue, but hot things look yellow, and really, really hot things look white. What colour do you think it's going to be inside the kiln? Everything is bright white. Wow.
pots take 6 hours to travel slowly through the kiln.
And here they come out the other end. And look, the heat has made them change to a lovely orange colour. The final thing to happen is that once they've cooled down, they come here for inspection. If a pot has a crack in it, it will make a really dull sound. But this one is smooth and solid. So what sound do you think it will make? This one sounds like a bell, and that means that it's ready to go. I think it's perfect for some plants, don't you?